So good morning. Thank you guys for all being here and joining us for the November edition of the Telworx Business Series. Today, we are going to be helping you guys out with social media for your business. The goal here is to give you guys the information you need so that you can start using social media to grow and expand your business and really turn it into a tool and an asset for you. So we're going to be looking at things from as simple as like, what is a hashtag? Why do I need to care about that? And how does it actually help in social media? All the way up to things like, what's the difference between LinkedIn and Instagram? Why is it important to know the differences there, and which is going to be right for my business, or should my business maybe be on both of them? With that, I want to thank both the Whittier and Glendora chambers for their support, not only in helping to promote the event, but just in general. The support that they've given Telworx over the years has been absolutely tremendous. And I know that Joe Sinna from the Glendora Chamber will often say that, without the member businesses of the chamber, it would be, two people in an office. But on the flip side of that, Joe, without the support of the chambers and the infrastructure and community that they provide, it would really be a collection of businesses just kind of looking around and trying to figure out how to network and how to connect with each other. So it's definitely a symbiotic relationship that we have with each other. So thank you guys for that. Really quickly about Telworx, we're really the single service the single source rather for all of your business technology and telecommunications services. A couple things that we know about businesses just in general is that they all need technology, but everyone in your business has a more productive use of their day than trying to figure out the best technology for your business to be using and then going out to source and implement it. So that's what Telworx will do for you. We'll do all of that kind of behind the scenes work to help you find the technologies that are going to best suit your business and then help you implement them so that you can go ahead and focus on the activities that are actually going to help you grow and develop your business and drive revenue. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Vivial and get things going here. Vivial is going to be positioned as a digital marketing company and a Google Premier partner, but they're actually even more than that. They're not just going to help with your digital marketing, but they can really help manage your entire digital footprint. So it's not just about being able to run Google ads or increase your page rank or search engine optimization, but they're going to also be able to do things like help you respond to reviews online, both negative and positive, so that if someone comes and says, hey, we had an absolutely great experience with your company, you can actually address that and take advantage of it. And on the flip side, if you get a negative review, like let's completely hypothetical, but say that Telworx got a review that said, hey, Joel didn't show up on time and he didn't get the cabling installed. Telworx really let me down. You want to have a mechanism in place to address that, especially because the Telworx that I just mentioned is not the Telworx out here in California, but that would be the Telworx in New York. So you want to be able to have systems in place to manage things like that. And Vivial can help you with that as well. So they really are a full service firm, but you guys don't want to hear me keep going on and on about anything really. I've been talking too long, and at this point, I should just go ahead and turn it over to Laura Gibbs so that she can give you the actual information that you need to start using social media for your business.
Awesome. Thanks, John. And I would listen to you go on and on. I mean, yeah, sign me up for that. Thank you everyone for being here. I really appreciate it. It's nice to see some familiar faces on here as well. I'm going to share my screen. And here we go. So if you can everyone see Social Media 101, Back to College 101. So with that said, for any of you who have ever taken a 101 class, you know that it is taking a very big subject and trying to cram it into like a semester. And we're going to take something that I usually train over 2 to 3 days when I'm training sales reps on this, and put it into, I'm going to try and do this in like 30 minutes to leave some Q&A time at the end. So that's the goal here anyway. So Social Media 101, thank you very much for the introduction, John. A little bit about us. I'm not going to talk too much about Vivial. John, you did a thorough and excellent introduction to who we are. I will say that picture of me is definitely, you know, the like how it started, how it's going. That's the like how it started. It's like, ah. But anyway, John and I are going to be your hosts today, and please feel free to reach out to us. And of course, please use the chat and ask any questions. Sue and Candace are going to be helping out with that too, and just kind of fielding some of those questions. And I want to get to as many of them as possible. And I will leave some time at the end. The other thing I will say, just to give you a heads up, is I felt like buying some lunches today. So I will be sending Uber Eats gift cards to 4 of you who are attending today, if you can answer my little trivia questions at the end. So pay attention to some of the stats I'll be sharing throughout this. And when I ask those questions at the end, maybe you'll win and lunch will be on me today. So Vivial's been around for 110 years, right around when the internet started, you know. Just kidding. We started as a book of business. Yellow Pages, anyone? That's how we started. So if you're familiar with that, we have only ever been in the business of putting buyers in front of sellers. And we adapted very early on, earlier than most of our competitors, to the digital space, which means we had those like few years up front to work out all the bugs, and digital is a wild ride. So we are strategically partnered with all the right people: Google, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. And I have shamelessly plugged just some of our awards here at the bottom of this slide. But we are a large company. We have about 90,000 clients across the country. So if you're like, nobody's worked with me, I'm an underwater basket weaving company. Yeah, we have. That's like well, it's a little bit of a stretch, but definitely basket weavers I've worked with for sure. We hit everything across the board, everything from the small mom and pops up to, we've run Macy's text messaging campaigns, so we can handle a little bit of everything. Some things that I want to discuss today, and some things that you should be taking away from this session by the end of this session. You should understand how social media has become a pay-to-play market space. We'll talk about that a little bit. You should also know how to and where to invest your time and resources. If you've decided, hey, I'm going to go at this on my own, I'm going to give you as many tips as I can for you to do that. And then we'll talk about some things like explaining the differences between boosted posts and Facebook ads and organic posting and all that good stuff. There is a little find us online at vivial.net. I actually want you to reach out to John or myself directly, unless you want to get reached out to by a salesperson. You probably don't want to. We're way more fun to talk to. But if you do want to look at some examples, you can certainly look there, or just reach out to me and say, hey, I'm a dog groomer. Have you worked with them before? Yes, I have. I can send you some examples. But anyway, these are some of the main things we'll be talking about today. The first thing I always start discussing is the consumer journey. And that probably sounds like very philosophical, like the journey, the consumer's journey. It's really just, there are different phases that you go through. Put your purchasing hat on right now. We're all consumers of something, right? We're all buying things, investing in things. So there is a pathway that you follow, more or less, when you're making a purchase of a product or a service. It's very important to understand that as a small or medium-sized business owner before you come up with a marketing campaign where you can, properly reach your audience, and not just reach them, but engage them, and then encourage them to decide to use your product or your services. Always starts with awareness. So becoming aware of a business as an option is first and foremost. It's like, if it looks like I'm standing in a closet, it's because I live in the Bay Area and I have a 1-bedroom, 1-bath place, and I turned my front walk-in closet into my little office. If I was running a business out of here, which I guess technically I am, if I'm just like, okay, I'll just wait here for my customers, nobody's going to be aware of me, right? I have to put a sign outside. I'm going to have to do some marketing and advertising, or else I'm just me in my closet, right? Making sure that consumers are aware of your business. It's the top of the funnel for anybody who did take marketing. It's the top of the funnel, just creating that awareness of what you do, what you sell. From there, you have to create interest. So, okay, I can see that you are a restaurant, or I can see that you're an attorney, or I can see that you are a landscaper. Great. So are all these other businesses. There's, tens, hundreds, whatever it is, depending on how competitive your field is. There's a lot of options out there. You have to find a way to create interest in you with your audience. So we'll talk about that a little bit. From there, once you've created some interest, you have to get your buying audience to make a decision. Ooh, I could go with this cleaning person, or I could go with this cleaning person. Maybe I'll check out some reviews and see like what their work looks like, or whether they're gonna break my something in my home or whatever. You're gonna start looking at that stuff. You're shopping around before you make your decision. Then, okay, I've made my decision. Now I want to take action as the consumer. We've got our consumer hats on right now. Making it very easy for a consumer to take action is essential. Book a service, click this button, call me now, like those call me now options on your phone. Oh, I'm hungry right now. Oh, cool. I can just like order this online. Great. Those are all action items, ways for a consumer to take action easily. And then my favorite thing about social media, which is really what sets social media apart from all of the different avenues of marketing and advertising, advocacy. How many of you, and I wish I could really see all of you on here, but maybe just think to yourself, how many of you have an Instagram or a Facebook or some sort of social platform that you're like, oh, just bought this, or here's my new home, and you're like posing with the big key, or whatever it is you're doing, that you are plugging a business because you had such a great experience. You have been an advocate for that business. So advocacy is where you can have your social presence take off like wildfire and get out in front of a bunch of other consumers who can possibly use your service. All right, so a successful social campaign is all about being authentic. That's a word I've been hearing a lot lately, especially in my industry, about being authentic and engaging. So 2/3 of Facebook users visit a local business page at least once a week. Maybe you fall into that category, maybe you do not, but either way, if you're a business owner on here, and I know most, if not all of you are, what is that consumer going to see when they get to your business page? And I'm just referencing Facebook right now, but really any social business page. What are they going to see when they get to your page? Your brand, if anybody's read the 5 Love Languages book, your brand is your love language for consumers. It's here's how I want to be communicated with, and here's how I communicate. And this is my ideal relationship, right? That's what you're doing through social media. So whatever you post, make it authentic, make it engaging, and it's going to speak volumes to your clients. First and foremost, you have to personalize your message. So customize the language and the creative, meaning the imagery, right? The creative of your content to reach your ideal client. I'm saying ideal client and like the perfect relationship and all of that. So that means that has to be part of your marketing, your social media marketing strategy. You have to come up with that ideal person. Who is it that buys my product? Or who do I want to buy my product if you're somebody who's kind of trying to switch demographics? But your brand's going to be a key piece of your social media presence. So having a strong brand, establishing what your brand is about. I would even encourage you, if you've ever done an exercise in creating your own brand, I always do this. I run a leadership group, and it's one of the first exercises I do. I'm like, text, LinkedIn message, email 10 of your professional and personal friends and say, hey, if you could send me 3 words to describe my brand, that would really be helpful for me. Figure out what your brand is, and I want you to go after that with your social presence. Everything that you do should reflect that. That's what's going to help you reach your target audience. From there, you want to encourage engagement. So if you want engagement, you've got to ask for it. right? When think about how you all use social media. You're not just going on social media to just like sit there and be like, okay, I want things to happen for me here. And that would be like going to a party and just kind of like hanging out in the corner, which is, it is cool. That person's cool, but like they're not going to get a lot of engagement, right? We want engagement on social media. So especially in our kind of displaced virtual world where we're talking to each other like this a lot through a screen, not ideal. People are going on social media to engage. Okay, they're going on there to interact and have a conversation. What I love about social media personally is that it kind of breaks down that barrier between the business owner and me, the purchaser of that business owner's product or service. I can get in direct communication with that person. That's really cool. And social media is a way for you to really showcase that brand and engage with people so that they feel more included and they want to keep coming back to you for as a loyal customer. So to gain more engagement, in addition to like pictures, videos, providing links to customers and more, you want to leverage the feeling of like nostalgia. That's something that has been that has really resonated, especially in like 2020. 2020, as we know, was a year that has changed everybody's lives, right? In some way or another. We are going to be talking about this for the rest of our lives. The way people started using social media was such a strong indicator of just how important and key social media is to a marketing campaign, because the type of content that people started engaging with, the amount of people who jumped on social platforms. My dad has no business being on Instagram. Next thing I know, all my friends are like, your dad just requested me on like Instagram. I'm like, I'm sorry, you can turn it down. It won't hurt my feelings. The number of people that started joining platforms like Instagram, they were seeking engagement, right? That's why we're going there, right? So make sure that you've got a game plan in handling that engagement, encouraging that engagement. And then of course, once you get that engagement, okay, now what do I do? How do I communicate with this client? Do I have the time? Do I have the resources? Are they easily able to do business with me now that we've gotten in communication? The connection should be effortless. So 79.9, let's just say 80% of Facebook users only access the platform on a mobile device. Yeah, so 80% of people go into their phone to get on Facebook. If you don't have a Facebook presence, you need one, okay? And then if any of your online presence is not happening seamlessly and in a mobily friendly way, it needs to be. There are a lot of, let's just even think about websites. You've been on a website where you're having to zoom in, you're having to like move things around, the formatting's off, pictures are overlapping, that you're already not a player, not interested. I'm not going to decide to use you if I'm one of those 80% of people that are using a mobile platform like that. So just some little tips for making sure that your online presence is going to be seamless and effortless for your buyer, your consumer. All right, let's set the foundation. I was talking to, he's one of my favorite clients, and I'll say this, he's one of my favorites because he's a retired engineer. If there are any engineers in the room, you guys are a special breed, very analytical, very analytical. His wife, people person. She has a business that makes like, they call them topical medicinals. So if you have dry skin or if you have whatever, they make all sorts of lotions, salves, all that stuff. And she comes from a long line of people who had an apothecary, like back in the day, we were like, let me just blend up some herbs, I'm gonna do this for you. That's a cool story. It's a really cool story to tell on social media too, which we're now doing for them. We weren't though in the beginning. And I remember talking to Dale. I don't think he's on this, though I think I invited him. But if you see a Dale on there, Dale, I'm talking to you. He comes to me and he's like, Laura, I need your help. I have been doing Facebook for about 6 months now. And I was like, oh, cool, Dale, how's it going? He's like, well, I set up 13 custom audiences. I'm like, that's awesome. You know, so he knows his who. Who do you want to attract? He set up 13 different people, like personas that he wants to attract. So that's the first part. He's setting his foundation. Who do I want to attract? And then what action do I want them to take? He's like, I want them to visit our online store and buy things on our e-commerce, or they, at the time, they had just started opening for in-person interactions. They're like, or they can come into the store and have the full experience where they get to talk to my wife and talk about like, oh, well, I've got a little eczema on my hand, so I need some cream for that. Okay, great. You want them to either go to the store or you want them to go to your e-commerce. Great, have that down. Where do you want them to go? Well, my e-commerce, my store. When do you want them to do this? I want them to do this as soon as possible. When them start making purchases. How much are you willing to spend? I'm doing this myself. So I'm going to just spend as little as I can. I'm going to do all the organic posting and all that. All right, Dale, how'd it go? I got 0 customers that I could track. And this is an analytical person, so you know he was tracking it. What happened for Dale? He laid his foundation. He was doing all the right things. But what he didn't do correctly was he didn't set up his messaging to engage his audience. He knew the audience he wanted to engage, but his failure was in the communication. Social media is a communication platform. Okay, so it is, you are humanizing yourself. You want to humanize your brand. It has replaced mostly, or I shouldn't say replace, that's not cool, but like it has taken over our word of mouth. Like social media is our digital word of mouth. So what he was missing was his messaging was off. He knew who he wanted to reach, but just the communication part wasn't good. He was the person in the back of the party, not engaging and talking with anybody, right? So he laid the foundation, and this is essential. So if you want to screenshot this, make sure you're checking all 5 of these boxes. But then the messaging, the content, hugely important. So that brings me to this, the truth behind the organic posting. Organic posting is where you can really establish your brand. You can, so we all know organic, and you've probably heard that word so much lately too, but just this grassroots way of getting attention, of getting engagement. I'll tell you a little story. So just a few weeks ago, I saw an ad. John knows this about me, and so does Sue. Social media just gets me on like purchasing things. I'm a marketer's dream. I even know all the tricks, and I'm just still like, I'll just throw that in my cart. But just a few weeks ago, I saw an ad for a beauty product, and I thought, okay, I'm going to buy this thing. So the video was really compelling. I'm like all about the anti-aging stuff. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this and this. So I watched the video. I then was like, I think I'll check out their Facebook, which is these days I go onto Facebook to remind myself of people's birthdays. I also like to check out businesses there or products there. So I go to their Facebook page. And when I got to their Facebook page, I saw that they had 1 organic post, just 1. Also, they changed their business name 2 times since their Facebook page was started, which was only about a month ago. And this product was kind of like one of those electro stimulus kind of, well, anybody who knows what I'm talking about, you're like, oh yeah, you're going to want a little credibility there. You're going to want to look at some reviews on something like that. Worst of all, they hid their reviews, couldn't find their reviews on their page. That's pretty much what made me make the decision I wasn't going to go with this client, or I wasn't going to go with this customer. What am I saying? Business. I wasn't going to go with this business because they lacked credibility for me. They weren't posting, they weren't engaging, they were hiding their reviews. These are all essential pieces of a social media campaign. So, and I don't think I'm that different from the average customer. So think about your own buying experience. When you go online, you're looking for a product or service. What are some of the things that you look for? Probably reviews. A lot of people look at them. About 75% of people look at them. So let's talk a little bit about how organic posting does help your business and brands. And then after that, I'll get into, take out your notebook if you have a notebook. Maybe I should have told you that at the beginning, but if you have something to write on, these next few slides, I'm going to give you very specific tips on how to organically post for your business. And first, credibility. If you don't have a robust, informative, relevant timeline of posting on your social media, you've immediately lost credibility. I come from a family, all 3 of my parents are business owners. And I find it funny to say it like that. I have a stepmom, but all 3 of my parents are business owners. So hopefully that wins me a little credibility with you all. I know what your lives look like in terms of how hard you work, how much time it takes, That was the environment I was raised in. There's an ebb and a flow, right? Sometimes things are great, sometimes things are stressful. You have to earn that credibility, or build that credibility, I should say, on your social platforms. So you want to focus on providing valuable content that takes somebody who's just like visiting your Facebook page to someone who is now a client or wanting to be a client of yours. You don't want them to have the experience I had the other day where they're like, oh, this looks really cool. Actually, it doesn't look cool because nobody's reviewed it and they've changed their name a couple of times and maybe they're not going to be in business very long. Not good. Credibility, key. Connection. So back to the fact that social platforms are where people want to connect. We're not just going on there to just like, I don't know what else you'd be doing on there, but you want to connect on social media, right? You want friends, you want likes, you want followers, you want to engage. Maybe you just want to do the little drop down smiley face, whatever you're doing. You want to have a connection. So provide them with a sense of community. That's how you create connection. And there's a platform, the first one we'll talk about, which you're probably already thinking, oh yeah, I know which one is associated with community. It's all about building a community there. And then lastly, organic posting, it's cost effective, right? So I know time is money, but all it does take is your time, right? So if you have the time, or if you have a resource, if you have somebody in your office who's like really dialed into your brand, really dialed into your message, they know the audience they're trying to reach, they can do organic posting for you. There are also tons of apps and sites that can help you with design, with stock images, with all that good stuff. There's a lot of free information and platforms out there for cost-effective organic posting. So so lots of resources out there for you. Okay, let's first talk about Facebook. So this is where you can take some notes, and I can share this stuff with you guys as well. But I encourage you to take some notes on this. Facebook is all about a positive community experience. So if you want to start like a Facebook group, you can get a lot of interaction going on there. But really it's about building your brand, humanizing that brand. Okay, so I've said the word humanize a few times now. Humanizing is, social media is made for that. That's where we can kind of claim back this, that engagement and word of mouth, and that, oh, hey, have you stopped by that restaurant lately? Or have you tried this particular window cleaning business, or whatever it is. We used to have those conversations in person all the time. That's happening less and less. And I'll say this, whenever you ask for a referral from a friend, even if it's like, hey, do you have a good dentist? I kind of don't like mine. Oh yeah, here's my dentist. I'm still going to go check them out online, right? I'm still going to look at the reviews. I'm still going to want to see if they accept my insurance. I'm going to want to see some pictures of their office, like all of that stuff. So even if your best friend is referring you to a business, maybe your best friend makes twice as much money as you do. And you're like, I need to check and see if this is within my budget. So we're all still going online, even if you are getting a referral from a friend. Social media is that friend that you can just kind of check on and check out some things about the business before you interact with them. But so Facebook, building the brand, humanizing your brand, and then connecting with customers. It's all about that. We recommend what we found as a best practice, 1 to 2 posts per day during work hours. You guys are all business owners, so you can do whatever you want. Yay. Maybe you don't want your employees though going on during work hours and posting and doing all that stuff. I don't know. 1 to 2 posts per day is what you're going to want to get to. So you can either have somebody do that in-house, or you can reach out to like John and I. We can do that stuff for you, or I'll do it. John won't do it. I won't make you do that. But 1 to 2 posts per day is kind of what you want to strive for. This is how you can increase engagement, get your brand message out there, reach your targeted audience. You want to share images and videos. A lot of people watch videos online. That went way up during the pandemic too. I'm one of those people. I started watching a lot more videos. You want to include calls to action. So again, if I come across your page and you're offering facials, I want to be able to book an appointment. Like, oh yeah, I need a facial right now. I'm in a buying mood. There better be a button there for me to make an appointment, right? Lead generation, and then product conversions, just meaning, me making a purchase, putting it in your e-commerce cart. That's Facebook. Instagram. So we know Facebook and Instagram, they're now Meta, right? Did everybody see that Facebook and Instagram are now called Meta? I know, I'm seeing some head shakes. I know, I was like, oh, brother, okay. Anyway, Instagram, very important, especially if you are a business that offers a visual product. So if you're a dentist and you're whitening teeth, I want to see the before and after, right? If you are, so anything aesthetic, before and afters. If you're doing home remodels, interior design, if you have a product that I want to see how it works, all of that stuff, Instagram is going to be your jam. So your objective for content there, you want to drive awareness, you want to educate consumers, and then you want to increase traffic. So you can use Instagram to have people then visit your page. And there's always a lot of questions around Instagram. I will definitely have time to answer some of those at the end. So make sure that if you do have a question, you can post it in the chat. But I always get a lot of questions around the hashtags and all that stuff. Best posting time, Tuesday through Friday. Monday has like kind of the lowest usership on Instagram. I guess we're coming out of this like lull from the weekend. We're like, oh, damn, I got to get back to work and like get my life together. Better not do Instagram today because you really can go down a rabbit hole there. In fact, 80% of accounts on Instagram are following a business. Okay, so the majority of people are following a business. One of the questions I get a lot are, I'm not really in, like, we're a landscaper. Why would I need an Instagram? Well, I don't know. Maybe I want to see like the lines in the lawn that you're going to make when I hire you as my lawn mowing person. Whatever it is, 80% of accounts follow a business on Instagram. You want to post first thing in the morning and during work hours. You'll notice I don't have a posting cadence on here. It kind of varies by industry, but it's kind of a lot. It's like, I would say at least once per day. I'd say if you want to stay on that like kind of Facebook schedule, which you can easily do since they're both Meta, right? You can post to Facebook and Instagram. 60% of people say that they discover new products on Instagram. I am one of those people. Again, marketer's dream. I buy things on Instagram all the time. It's also very easy to buy things on Instagram because it'll just autofill all your payment details. Yeah, that's like binge buying happens here, right? So if you have a product and you're sitting on this, or if people can book online with you, you should probably be on Instagram. So you want to drive awareness, you want to increase your consumers and your customer engagement and share your story. But really, Instagram's all about being creative, being eye-catching, being authentic, branding yourself, and just getting that visual in front of your audience. All right, LinkedIn. I get so many questions about LinkedIn from business owners. They're like, I'm a business, I need to look professional. Absolutely, yes, you do. I get a lot of questions, especially around the page strategy. And I have in a couple of slides a little bit of detail about the page strategy for LinkedIn specifically. So we'll talk about that shortly. But LinkedIn is all about being informational, being professional, and standing out to your peers, really. You want to stand out to your peers. So yes, there is a buying audience to an extent there. But I always encourage businesses to focus their buying audience on platforms like Facebook and Instagram, especially Facebook. So we can open that up to a little conversation in a bit, but that I'll say that. Your content objective on LinkedIn, you want to be educational, inspirational, you want to be a resource. If anyone has heard the term being a thought leader, thought leadership is like a really trendy thing we're talking about in our space and in the business world. You want to be a thought leader. Yes, LinkedIn is a good place for that. Tuesday through Thursday during work hours is kind of the best time to post. I love to do little experiments with stuff like this. And a statistic I saw was that between 10 and 11 a.m. on Tuesday is when you get like the most engagement on LinkedIn. I have found that. And actually it's 10:37 if you're on the Pacific, and if you are in the Pacific time. So if you want to make a little post on your LinkedIn right now, see how it goes, let me know. Or add something to your Outlook calendar right now. Post now on LinkedIn between 10 and 11 o'clock, because we're in that zone right now. It's all about branded content, company updates, especially in 2020, employee highlights became really important to just say, hey, this person's doing a great job. Industry stats, industry news and events, and of course that thought leadership. All right, so you're posting your brains out. You're like, I've been doing my organic posting. I took Laura's advice. I'm posting 1 to 2 times a day on Facebook and Instagram. I'm posting 5 times a month on LinkedIn. That's what I would recommend, 5 times a month organically. All that's happening, and you're like, but my engagement, I'm getting like 2 likes on these things, or I'm getting like 1 person reaching out every once in a while. It's becoming very quickly, or it has become, it has become a place where you have to pay to play. So when do you need to throw money behind your content through a boosted post or a targeted post? When do you have to do that? I'd say when you're not getting a lot of engagement, you're following a cadence, you're posting organically, you know that you're starting to grow your followers. That's kind of a key indicator too. Wow, my followers are growing. My friend, they wouldn't be friends on a business page, but your followers are growing, or people who are connected with you on LinkedIn, that's all growing, and yet you don't have a lot of engagement. You don't have a lot of conversation. That's when you might need to throw a little marketing, a little advertising dollar behind your ads. And again, feel free to ask me some questions on that. I will touch on LinkedIn for that. When you throw money behind an ad, you don't just want to throw money behind like a really ugly ad, right? It's like, oh, okay, well, here it is. And it's like, whoa, that was what was happening with, I don't want to say it was ugly, but that's what was happening with Dale, my client. He's like, well, I put ads out there, and I'm like, Dale, these are like small novels. Who's going to read? That's a lot to read, right? So creating a compelling ad, very important. You can do this yourself. And I'm going to give you just a quick outline on how to do this yourself and how to create a compelling ad. It starts with determining what the goal of that ad is, right? Back to basics. So what do you want the user to do? Do you want them to sit there and read a book? They don't want to do that, I promise. So what do you want them to do when they see your ad? You probably want them to call you, or you probably want them to go to their shopping cart on your site, or you want them to book an appointment or a consultation. You want them to take action. So your goal should probably be an action item, and especially if you're putting money behind this ad. So determine what your goal is, make it pretty specific, and then from there, create an authentic message. So the content of that ad should be genuine to your business's core, or else you're going to be putting a hiking ad in front of somebody who hates hiking. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you're creating an authentic message that reaches the audience that you want to buy things and that is going to buy things from you. Targeting the right audience. So use the knowledge that you have of your own buying audience. Use information from like Facebook Pixel. I know there's been some changes with the iOS update and all of that, but we can speak to that too if you'd like. But if you are targeting someone, make sure you're targeting the right audience. You can set up 13 buying personas. Nobody's going to buy from you if you're not targeting the right audience. Okay. Likewise, if you're targeting everyone, you're targeting no one. So you do have to be a little specific, but not so specific that you're like, okay, 30 to 40, lives in the Bay, has red hair, that you might be targeting me, right? That's a very small audience, and that's not going to work for you. You got to open it up a little bit. There's kind of a fine line. We can discuss that, or you can reach out to me if you need help with that. Next, now you're going to implement the campaign. So put it all together through Business Ads Manager. That's what you're going to want to set up, a Business Ads Manager account on Facebook. Set your date, set up your budget. You got to have some budget behind these if you're going to do targeted ads, and then let it run. Okay. And then analyze it. This is perhaps the hardest part of all. And it's essential that any marketing partner that you work with, or if you do this yourself, you are dialed into your analytics, that you know that your ads are even working for you. Okay, so that's essential. I recommend, just giving this as a recommendation. Now that first step was determine your goal. We always set our goals to conversions. Back in the day, it used to be like clicks, like pay-per-click campaign. I hate that term. Who wants clicks? Like, you can get all the high fives you want. Doesn't mean any of those high fives are going to buy anything from you. You want them to convert into a customer. Okay, so it's all about quality, not quantity of clicks. Okay, so that should be your objective, some version of conversion. I will touch on LinkedIn just briefly. And again, feel free to screenshot this if you'd like. Paid LinkedIn strategy at a glance. There are lots of different objectives: brand awareness, website visits, engagements, thought leadership, all of that good stuff. If you want to target, you're going to have to throw money behind it. That's some of these targeting options. You can target job titles. You can so if you know that person's the buyer, like the director of operations is going to purchase office cleaning services, you can target that person. If you want to target specific names or industries, you can do that. You can dial in pretty well on LinkedIn. It's going to cost you, so make sure you have a budget set aside. The average cost per lead on LinkedIn is $75. That's each, $75 each. Okay, and that's just the price you're going to pay. That doesn't include all the time spent organically posting and all that stuff. So it's very effective for lead generation and customer acquisition, even more so than Facebook if you're in the B2B space. But it's going to be about $75 a lead and around there. So it's quite costly. So I always recommend kind of layering LinkedIn with Facebook. You will find that you'll get more bang from your buck there. Facebook leads tend to be $25 or less. So just some stats there to put it into perspective. So yeah, if you're in the B2B space, LinkedIn should be part of your campaign, but also don't limit yourself there because you're not going to be as efficient as you could be. When do you seek assistance? You might be thinking at this point, wow, this is a lot. And you're right, it's totally a lot. I mentioned that my parents are business owners. All three of them at some point have been like, Laura, could you just do this for me? Isn't this what you do? Yeah, except it takes like 30 hours a month for Facebook alone. So that's a lot. If you're doing this on your own, do a little self-evaluation and then decide if you need somebody to help you. There's like 4 different elements here. So we have time, desire, knowledge, and resources. If you're missing any of these, you might want to reach out to somebody like me or John. Okay. So do you have enough time to dedicate to it? Not only to do the actual doing of the work, but the follow-up. So say somebody reaches out to you. How am I following up? Do I even want to do this? Like think about getting an oil change. I was raised by a very strong-willed mother. She's like, you're going to know how to change your oil in your car. But you know what? I pay somebody to do it because it's so messy, right? So when is there this time where I'm like, do I even want to do this? Maybe I'll just pay somebody. Do I know how to do this? And do I feel like I'm capable of staying up to date on the ever-changing digital landscape? Most business owners don't have the time. And then do you have the resources? So is it employee-wise for follow-up? Is it the time? Is it the budget? You got to ask yourself all of these things. And again, if you're missing any of them, you want to partner with somebody or reach out to John so we can give you some help. But I hope this helped. I hope this gave you a lot of insight and some tips that you can use. I'm going to unshare my screen now and open this up to questions. And then I am going to ask you 4 different questions, 3 of which the answers were provided throughout this, 1 of which, if you saw, well, you did when you registered, there was like a banner and there's a little stat there. You can answer these questions and win $25 for Uber Eats. But I will, how do I just stop sharing? Here we go. I will open this up to questions now. And yeah, John and Sue, if you can kind of help me field those, I would appreciate that.
So I haven't seen anything in the chat just yet as far as questions go. A couple of good comments in there, but they were specific to the topic at hand at the time, so we won't go through those again. Mm-hmm. Here's one that I know has been asked, and we won't put anyone on the spot, especially because it's being recorded. So if you guys don't want to have your voice recorded or whatever, I totally get that. Mm-hmm. But what are hashtags, and like how do they impact when you're posting on social media? Like how do those either lift or tank your post? Yes,
great question. So hashtags are really important, and not just any hashtags. So I have a friend who I've been helping her. She has a real estate business, and she was like, oh, I know I need to have hashtags. And she was like hashtagging her own business name. She was hashtagging like real estate for early retirement, like this long thing, like a lot of different hashtags, right? And she was just kind of creating them. I mean, I think that's more just funny or entertaining, or if you're really trying to create like a little niche group and all of you are in on the same hashtag, great. Otherwise, Hashtags are important because they help you reach a target audience that is looking for that particular product or service. So if you are in the, oh, like for example, my mother is an accountant and she does taxes during tax season. And all of her hashtags should be around taxes, like tax help, all of those things that people are going to be looking up. And I'm doing this with my mouth because if I'm like, I need tax help, or who can do my taxes, or that, like those keywords and key phrases that you put into a search, that should be part of your hashtag campaign. I encourage you to, this is a little trick that I like to use, and I share this with my clients. If you go to Google and you type in like a question that somebody would ask your business and you scroll all the way to the bottom, it's like people also looked at blah, blah, blah. And it has keywords down at the bottom. Those usually make great hashtags. So those are kind of like the trending terms that people are looking up. You can also, of course, just Google what's a good hashtag for my dog grooming business. And you will see hashtags come up that are trending. You want to go with the trending keywords because they're just going to create this striated audience that you can reach more effectively, especially on Instagram, LinkedIn as well. It's really good there. Tony has a question. Hey.
Hey, so the way these platforms work with their algorithms, you think you finally have something figured out, and then they go and change the algorithm. How do you keep up with that?
That is such a great question. And I honestly, I don't want to say this, but you hire somebody who keeps up with it for a living, like, because you can't. John Bog and I always talk about this, this stat, and it is, how often, John, does Google change its algorithm?
Oh, only every 17 to 18 hours.
Yeah, right. And then, yeah, that's Google's algorithm. People are like, oh, well, there was a big Google algorithm change, because they'll like announce that they're like the penguin or like whatever. They have all these different like cute names for it. It's really happening like 500 times a year. It's insane. So how you keep up with it, I mean, I think utilizing some little hacks like hashtags, like audience targeting, like all of that, those are kind of like pillars of social media, especially. And then the engagement, just to kind of stay top of mind. And then paid, like throwing paid spend behind ads is helpful. But even that, I get a lot of questions about with that latest iOS update. People are like, how would this affect my Facebook ad campaign, right? There's all these little tweaks. I always recommend talking to a professional, even if it's just to get like a consultation, to get some advice on that, because there usually are little loopholes or ways around it. Always keep in mind, keep your eye on the money, right? So everyone was, not everyone, I should be more specific. A lot of my clients were a little concerned when they were running Facebook ad campaigns, and they were like, how is this going to affect the efficacy of my advertising campaign that we just launched? I'm like, it's going to affect it, but also about 20% of users in the US use iOS. So it's about that 20%, and they would have had to have opted out of like being advertised to. So there, yes, it's something to keep an eye on, but there are ways around it. Here's how we can do it, right? So there are always ways around it, but it's always good to talk to a professional about that, just because this is what we do all day, right? And it is a lot to keep up with. Hope that helped, but great question.
So one other comment I'm going to make kind of on that, and Tony, thank you for actually asking that question, because it segues into what we're going to be looking at next month, which is, social media should be one tool in your tool belt. It's not going to be the only one. And, to Tony's point that, algorithms change, and when they change, how do you keep up with it? Work with a professional, absolutely, but don't rely on that one single source either. And that's part of the reason why Vivial isn't just a social media marketing company. They cover your entire digital footprint, so that you can keep your eye on everything happening there. So just a little heads up that next month we're going to be going more into how to continue to engage with your audience in some ways that aren't going to be reliant on someone else's algorithm, because not only can they change whenever they want, but sometimes people make mistakes, and if they check the wrong setting at Facebook or Meta or whatever they want to call themselves these days, and take down their entire internal network, through no fault of your own, you're done with that platform until they fix it. So I want to keep that in mind as well. Seems like everyone's either overwhelmed or is too shy to ask a question at this point.
I was going to say, this is a question I got asked the other day. Twitter. People ask me about Twitter. Notice that I didn't really include it in here, and that's not because it's not important. It's just because, like I said, it's usually like a 3-day training, and I was like, got to prioritize like the big three. Twitter, I do think is important. Just keep in mind, if you're going to get involved in Twitter, the feed and the exchange there is much quicker. So you're going to want to be posting and interacting on a very regular basis. You're going to want to know, talk about like hashtags and adding and all that stuff. Very important there on Twitter. But there's also some really cool things on Twitter that aren't on the other platforms, like something called search and respond. So for example, I work with a personal injury attorney, and if somebody posts like, oh, I was in an accident, I'm okay, but my truck isn't, and little picture of their total truck, we can jump in as the business owner, or I encourage you to jump into that conversation and say, hey, I'm sorry about your truck. I'm glad you're okay. If you find you need an attorney, reach out. We do free consultations. So Twitter allows you to kind of jump into conversations that are happening through its data and analytics, which is really helpful.
So we have a couple more questions in the chat. How much do the typical social media packages cost for advertising and management?
Mm-hmm. So it kind of depends. So just for our management, you'd be looking around 11 to 1,400 a month. But that's not the only option. I do have some that are less than that, less than 1,000 a month. If you're just wanting to hone in on like one platform or two platforms, and then we want to put ad spend on top of that if we're there yet. Usually we start by building up your presence, building up an audience to even target. And then phase 2, I would say, would be like targeting that audience. If you're already at a place where your business has quite a few social media followers and engagement, then we might start right off the bat with just a targeted ad campaign. That's something we can manage too. So it is kind of flexible. And it really does depend, and I'm not trying to avoid the question, but it really does depend on how competitive the industry is that you're in. If you're more of a niche audience and you're trying to focus on something else, it could be less. If you're reaching a larger population in, oh my gosh, like people like in Los Angeles, they're like, I want to target Los Angeles. You see paid ad spend has to be higher, just a lot of engagement there. So geographic, demographic, and your industry and all of that is important in that.
Okay, thank you. How about TikTok?
How about it? TikTok, I think it's fun. I think it's engaging. I think it's a great way, again, to humanize yourself. We don't include TikTok in our social media campaigns, but I don't think that means that you should stay away from it. Again, coming back to the first thing, who's the audience I want to reach? Like the average TikTok person is probably not, it's younger. They're younger. They're going to be like, in the 18 to maybe 30 crowd, or 18 to 25. So if that's your audience, you should be there. But a lot of the buying audience, TikTok's more, I don't know. I look at it as more of an entertainment platform.
Okay. Will copies of the slides or presentation be provided?
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Yep.
And just as an aside, or along with that, if you guys have any other follow-up questions that either don't get answered or you don't want to ask here, our contact information is available. You guys can always reach out to me, and if I can't answer your questions, we'll get time scheduled with Laura so that she can answer those. So yeah, we're definitely here for you guys. We'll make ourselves as available as possible. Let's see, what else do we have here? I didn't hear much about Pinterest, or is that mainly for specific businesses?
Yeah, I actually, I'm very excited to, I'm in the works with a client right now on Pinterest, and they offer kind of like high-end furniture. And we're definitely doing Pinterest for them, because if you are a Pinterest user like myself, you set up like these dream rooms and you're like, oh, I love that room. And you can actually then advertise to people with your furniture. Oh, notice you like the blue velvet couch. We happen to have those. So Pinterest is really good if you have a product that you sell, especially like interior design. But I mean, there's all sorts of like dream boards and stuff on Pinterest. So if you have a visual product, yeah, I think Pinterest is really cool. And it is part of our custom campaigns that we do for clients.
Cool. Thank you. And it looks like as far as questions go, that's about it. There are a couple of thank yous in the chat. So thank you guys for attending.
I have some questions too. So remember, I have trivia
Yes.
questions and I have some gift cards. So John, whoever answers first gets it. Okay, so
Okay.
keep an eye on that. All right, so the first question, what is the percentage of accounts that follow a business on Instagram? I said this during that slide. Oh, I saw Tony come in first.
Yeah, Tony came in first, 80%.
80%, absolutely. Very good. Okay, what is the best time to post on LinkedIn? Like absolute best time, like during the day.
And we're just looking
During
for
work hours.
During work hours is true. There's a specific, oh, I'm seeing,
I think Judy
Yeah.
came in.
so it's actually, I mean, it's 10 to 11.
Oh, if
10
we're gonna
to
look for
11.
that, then it's Deborah.
Nice, awesome. Okay, this one I did not mention, but for any of you small and medium-sized business owners out there, this is important to know. So give me your best guess. What is the average, or what is the amount, let's say percentage of your gross that you should be spending on marketing? So people ask me like, what should I be setting aside for my marketing budget for the year? It's a percentage of your overall gross revenue. Whoever comes closest, I will give this to you. Patrick, 10%, Christina, 30%, Judy, 5%. All right, so should we do closest without going over, or just closest in general? What do you think, John? I always put this on you, you know I do. I don't want to be a bad guy.
No, you know what? I think closest. We are not the prices right here. I would just say, you know, closest to it.
7 to 8% is the average. So 7 to 8%. If you are in super growth mode, up to 25% is good, but 7 to 8% is what you should be spending of your gross on marketing and advertising. And then the last question I'll ask, well done. The last question that I will ask is going to be something that you could have seen in the banner when you registered. I'll say this, so in 2020, the number of users on social media was 3.69 billion. It has gone up since then considerably in 1 year, biggest growth in like history. What is the number in billions of active social media users? So I'm seeing 4, I'm seeing 5.2, I'm seeing 8. No, we'll do the closest again. You ready? 4.5 billion is the answer. So I guess we'll give it to Christina, I'm thinking, with the 4. So 4.5 billion. So that's a ton. That is a ton of people that joined social media in the last year. But John or Sue, I hope somebody kept track of who won our gift cards. Lunch is on me today. I'll be sending you an Uber Eats gift card. And thank you everyone so much for joining.